On this episode of the Star Trek Universe podcast, we are jumping into Discovery 113, What's Past is Prologue, right after this.
Welcome to the Star Trek Universe podcast. My name's Matthew Carroll.
And I'm David C. Robertson.
Oh, man. Full spoiler alert. We're going to dive right into episode 113 of Discovery. We're so close to the end of the season and the beginning of season 2. At the end of the week, man, we're almost there. Let's hear that summary, bro.
As per CBS All Access, Lorca plans to move forward with a coup against the Emperor, propelling Burnham to make a quick decision to save not only herself, but the USS Discovery.
That's good. And it happens, and he almost wins, and then Giorgio and Burnham kick his ass.
Mm-hmm.
And then Giorgio tries to go out in a blaze of glory, but Burnham saves her, while the Discovery saves the entire universe. Multiverse, I should say.
Indeed.
That's some stakes right there. That may be the largest stakes in Star Trek history.
Possibly, yeah.
I can't think of it. I mean, it's very possible they had that sort of a MacGuffin on another season where they're trying to stop the multiverse from being destroyed. But this is definitely, there's a big ball of fire eating the multiverse. Like you can't go bigger than those stakes.
You really can't.
While having a sustainability and environmental message.
Yeah, I might add that this is the first time under my own personal viewpoint of the show that the real prime timeline has actually been in danger.
Started worrying about your actual Kirk and Spock.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, so I like this episode a lot. Halfway through, Lorca is definitely the best thing about probably the season, but this episode, him just going full on evil, was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly, like, even in his full on evil though, he was still relatable. His speech he gives to Burnham about how the Federation is idealistic. And even Saru says it later, that he took advantage of our idealism, which, like, I like that even the guys that are still on the Federation side acknowledge that what they're doing is an idealistic version. And, like, there are problems. There are holes in the armor of the Federation's logic, you know? And he was able to exploit those holes, and those holes are their idealism and their trust and their, like, trying to help everyone.
Yeah.
I also really loved Burnham's speech about, we would have helped you get home. All you needed to do was ask. That's the Federation. That's who we are. You chose to go this way, though. Did
you feel like it was a little off color or off point with making him basically xenophobic?
You know, I felt like it was a little too of the moment. Like, they're already doing that with the Klingons, I guess. And
then we have him saying, "Make the Empire glorious again." I'm like, oh, damn it, come on.
And make the Empire, like, they're just being, they're being very anti-Trump in this season, which, like, I don't even, like, I am not opposed to being anti-Trump, but, like, I just feel like keeping your politics a little bit more out of the soup here. Like, not completely. I don't mind. I'm trying to say this in a way that I can support what I'm saying, because I don't think you shouldn't be able to write your politics. I think if your politics are dripping off the thing to the point that it feels preachy, there's a problem that you're not telling the story in a way that will change anyone's mind. Honestly,
right.
If you tell the story in a way that, like, even someone who believes those things that are against you can watch that character and root for him, and then that can subtly change their mind. Like, that's the kind of storytelling you need to be doing if you're trying to make that sort of impact on people. This kind, you're creating sort of a mustache twirler that no one is going to identify with, therefore no one can be changed by.
Yeah.
And and it really, the only real problem about that bothered me, it would have been fine if that's the first time this season that we had someone give a Trump speech.
Well, we also already have those characters, and to make Lorca a part of that, it was a little bit maddening.
Right. Give me a different kind of villain. There's all kinds of villainy out there. Give me a different type. Make him just power hungry, because to me that's what the Terrans are. They're power hungry.
Yeah, and you know what? This is like for DC on Screen, I watch a show on the CW called Supergirl, and more than any other show that I watch, that show just lacks subtlety completely. They are constantly bludgeoning you over the head with their political viewpoints.
Yeah. And
actively calling out anyone who even somewhat disagrees as being a terrible person. None of that is to say that, it's bothering me because of any personal political belief, because, it doesn't matter. It's just as long as it's bludgeoning me over the head with something that I can identify very easily and it's taking me out of the show, I'm annoyed by it.
Right. I also think that, especially talking about Supergirl, I think there's a thing that happens with people that think that their show is so siloed that there's probably no one watching it that disagrees with them. And I think Supergirl probably has that going for it, where I bet the producers, their minds are like, well, if they're really Trump followers, they're probably so sexist they're not watching Supergirl, so we can do whatever we want. And that's just like I think that's like part of the calculus, is like, our target market is people who like women, so Trump followers can't have nuance of supporting him for any reason other than they're complete racist, sexist assholes. And so they wouldn't watch our show anyway. We can say whatever we want. And it's like, that's not how the world works. Like, the whole political spectrum right now has this, everyone, you believe your side has nuance, and there's all kinds of little things in there that you can agree and disagree with, but the other side can't have nuance. Like, there's no one that supports that side with a nuanced belief or a half-hearted belief or whatever. There's tons of people on your side that do, but everyone that's on that side is the far, far edge of that side. And that goes for both sides. I'm not talking about one side or the other. And that's like, that sort of siloing is the biggest political problem for me right now, because I think that is used by the people in power to foment fear among their population, among their supporters, to keep them in power. Because you have fear of the other. And if you could both acknowledge that, hey, yeah, we both have crazy fringe on both our sides, but there's about 40%, there's like a 20% crazy on both sides, and then there's about the 60% in the middle that we could all probably come together and come to a lot of agreement, then the people in power would lose their power. and they wouldn't be able to hold on to it through fear. But we all just like, we let ourselves get tricked into believing that everyone on the edges, everyone is on this far edge from us. It's so annoying.
It's aggravating, yeah.
This is the darkest of timelines.
Help us, Ephraim Cochran. So anyway, I would have loved to see Lorca be himself a little longer on the series. I would have loved to have seen him survive and come back to torment us.
I'm not sure
another
he
season. He may have.
Here's what I love the idea. So we know mycelium does all kinds of crazy stuff with time and space. When he fell into the core of the mycelium network, as he called it, this fiery ball, it disintegrated him, yes. But we're watching Star Trek here. We know people get disintegrated and rematerialized all the time. And all that, he basically turned into mycelium as he fell into it. And what I love more than just him doing that, this is in the throne room where Georgiou throws traitors down a hole And so what I love is he may have materialized on a beach somewhere with a ton of his followers.
In some way, yeah.
Yeah,
I guess so.
I could see a world where he is like either in the mycelium network or in some sort of version, or he's been traveled to another universe where him and his followers are about to try to conquer the universe. I could just see, like, this episode had me fanficking all over the place. Like, I was just like, oh, where could he be? Who all has Giorgio thrown down that hole in the past, you know?
It does, it does feel like they did set up a whole lot with his obsession with fate and destiny and all of that rhetoric he was spouting, but it feels like they just dipped their toe in.
For sure. For me, the whole destiny question of this episode, it gave me the sense that maybe the mycelium network is operating similar to the prophets. And it is actually in control of things to some degree, or like it has desires. I talked about it in last episode. Like, what if Hugh, the version of Hugh that was talking to Stamets, and in this episode I felt like it was very borne out. What if that version of Stamets was talking to that version of Hugh was the mycelium network giving him the information he needed, and then in this episode it ended up being that he had that information he needed. And you can what I love about it is you can believe any of those things, and it could just be the fever dreams of a dying man, or it could be actual Hugh coming in some spiritual form, or it could be the mycelium network talking to him, and that's my favorite version. But what that means in my mind is this whole season could have been orchestrated by the mycelium network. This this whole thing, even maybe the evil Lorca coming to our universe to orchestrate his own return could have all been the mycelium network pulling the strings of the universe to destroy that reactor that was destroying itself.
I mean, they could pull out all things are connected, and that's why the mycelial network, as Hugh Culber says, I felt you hold me, blah, blah, blah. Like, they could just be, like, connected to everything, everywhere, all life, all objects, all, everything. So, yeah, I mean, they could do a lot of stuff with that.
Well, and the cool thing about it is I think they already did all that stuff. In that interpretation exists. I just made a case for it. And they did a really cool thing with this season where you can have multiple interpretations and they all could be true or none of them or whatever. Like, I just really like that. I like the mycelium network. I didn't at first. It felt a little too fantasy for Star Trek for me. But then again, my favorite show is DS9, which has a whole like fantasy element. The wormhole aliens versus the Pa Wraith, the whole show is predicated on this sort of fantasy element.
Yeah. So am I to assume that you believe the green particle that landed on Tilly's shoulder, you think that's Lorca?
No. I don't know that meant anything.
It was a little on the nose for it not to mean anything.
Yeah, you've said that before, and you said that before about that thing, and you asked me, what did you think about that? And I was like, I don't remember that. Like, I think, cause that's the thing, in watching it this time, I paid more attention because you had mentioned it before, and I remember the shot, but to me it was kind of just like an
artsy thing.
Yeah. That's the thing, it could be either of those two things. It could be some really, we might see it in a future last time on Discovery. They might show that shot again and I'll be like, okay, Dave was right. They're going to do something with that shot. Or it could just be that they decided to follow one of the mycelium spores down to wherever it's going to land, and it happens to be the one that landed on her shoulder. And it turns green because maybe that's just what all of them did when they landed. It could just be an artsy, pretty shot, or it could mean something. I just don't know.
Well, if I'm right, what I've read, if that is correct anyway, Brian Fuller originally, he just felt like when he created the show, Lorca was just a brilliant tactician. He was never from the mirror universe, and that was the thing that happened after he left. The showrunners decided, like, oh, this would explain Lorca, and that's fine. But those showrunners are gone now. They were fired. Right. So, who knows? Like, somebody completely new is in charge. It's Alex Kurtzman and some other people, and they are in charge now.
Yeah.
So they might go in a completely different way with it.
I knew where this episode was going because I'd seen it before. But halfway, what I found really cool about Lorca is halfway through this episode, I had the thought when he does that call over the thing and he says, "Don't touch Burnham," and he talks about keeping Burnham alive to all his followers. I was like, wait a second, is this real is this Prime Lorca pretending to be Dark Lorca so that he can get his people off this ship? Like, did he find himself in an agonizer and then figure out in his brilliant tactician way how to get out of this? Like, and I don't think that bears out the rest of the episode, because in the final fight scene, he is. I don't think he has. I don't think that theory holds water. But that's what I loved, is like he's been such a interesting force. He's never done something so evil that you couldn't see his logic up until this episode. And I was like sitting there thinking, like, what if?
I enjoy Jason Isaacs and everything the guy does.
Yeah, me too. I really hope he's not done for. I guess we're supposed to assume that his Baran, he went down with his Baran in our universe. Because we still haven't really gotten a solid read on what happened there.
We never saw a body with Prime Lorca.
No.
So
we never saw a body with Mirror Lorca either.
We saw his body disintegrate, but because of the nature of the mycelial network, that doesn't mean shit.
Yep. So neither one, I feel like, has a solid death yet.
Right. I thought it was neat that the Lorcas switched based on the same method that Kurt, McCoy, Scotty, and Uhura did in the original series.
I did too. That was neat.
I kind of liked it, and I kind of hated it, because he's like, luckily there was an ion storm, and I just went, okay.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Sure, lucky, or it's the mycelium network controlling things in a way that he interprets as his own destiny, but we can interpret as the mycelium network making it Discovery's destiny,
right?
To save the multiverse.
By the way, did you buy?
I love this season. This is great.
So it was made known that Lorca was in the Prime universe for a year and 212 days. Did you buy that so many of the Baran crew were in, I don't know, such good shape after being in agonizer booths for nearly 2 years?
Well, I kind of take that the agonizers don't really hurt you physically, is the way I kind of took them, unless you turn them up. I thought they just like caused pain to your neurons, which can cause a lot of psychological pain. And who knows? They also talked about not killing them. And when Lorca was going into the agonizer, he's like, I don't want, or Burnham says, I don't, and not that she knows anything about agonizers at this point. But she says something about, I don't want a overzealous crewman to kill my bounty or whatever. And I think, and they buy that, which to me means the agonizer booths are a thing where they torture you, but maybe you get breaks. Maybe there's a certain like amount of carefulness about how they torture you. And Philippa, I think she wants them at the strongest they can be, so they can experience the most pain. I don't think she's trying to dwindle them or kill them. She wants them to live a long time. But yeah, I agree. It's a little, the fact that she took a bunch of people that have been in agonizer booths that long and said, let's take this whole palace. Another point could be made is that we don't know they were in those agonizers all of that time.
Right. And they also didn't take the entire palace. They basically used Mirror Stamets' biological weapon to take out the upper crewmen, and then like everyone else smelled blood in the water and joined their forces.
Yes.
That's what they said happened.
Yeah, or at least he made that offer.
Oh no, they actually said that it happened.
Oh, did they? See, I didn't see anyone switch sides. I was waiting to see that, but I didn't catch anyone actually saying they were switching.
That's why after Lorca was gone, people were trying to bust into the throne room or whatever. And Giorgio was like, nope, they can see my neck now. It's over. There's no going back.
Oh yeah, well that's definitely true. Like, even if she could survive this, she feels that her power as the Emperor has been diminished. I wonder what she'll be like as a character if they create a Section 31 series.
I don't know. By the way, I've looked at the trailers again. That totally is her in the.
Oh yeah, it is
in that hood.
Yeah, you were totally right. There's a shot with her like either with the same outfit with the thing down. So yeah, you were right about that.
I kind of wish it was Alpha 5 or something like that.
It definitely looks like
a weird looking robot.
Like a updated Power Rangers villain in that moment.
Right. Yeah, they did get a little showy with their allegories. Like, it didn't bother me that much, but they did get very preachy with they are poisoning the mycelial network with their short-sighted power generation.
Yeah.
Like, thank you, old Star Trek style allegorical head bludgeoning.
Yeah, which, that one didn't bother me too much, honestly. At least it was a different one. Like, the thing that you got to do allegory on a show like this, I think.
Yes. But just for that little scene with like Tilly Stamets and Saru, it just became like an after-school special suddenly. Like, they didn't talk like they normally talk. They were just like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't think they're worried about sustainability.
Yeah, and then it was like, back to the show. And I'm like, all right, that was weird.
Yeah, I can see that. It's definitely head bludgeony, but that one didn't bother me nearly as much because it didn't feel. I guess I like the argument they're making there makes sense to me. Purely. Not that the argument that Lorca makes sense, makes it different to me either. The idea of letting other beings into your culture can be a nuanced argument. And this goes for, and what they're making allusions to is the whole Trumpist sort of, keep everyone out.
Yeah.
And the problem is, a country to remain a country has to have, every other country in the world has some sort of mechanism for controlling immigration, right? And so just having that be an argument doesn't make you evil. Going full on where we're going to murder everyone who's not us, that's definitely evil, and that's the Empire. But thinking that your society and the fear, both of these characters definitely cross the line in those arguments. But I think the people making this show think that anyone who has any sort of immigration policy other than we should love everyone and invite everyone in, is wrong. And I think that there are arguments to be had on those issues. It's not black and white as much as, the issue of in the issue that he talks about the sustainability of the mycelium network, it's not really even about sustainability. They are actively sucking and destroying the environment, for lack of a better. And it's you need to stop that. And it's I think that even Mirror Stamets, who created it, if he realized the extent of the damage he was doing, would want to stop what is happening. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
not that he would have any power to stop it, because if Giorgio didn't think he should, well,
right.
That.
And they're all too fearful on that side to make the hard choices to, and that is a solid parallel to our current state. If we're destroying our environment but we can't politically convince the people in power or the people that support them that we are causing damage to our environment, then then the scientists have no control to do anything. It is, and part of it, the beautiful thing about this world is you've got one missile can fix everything.
Sure.
And in our world, it's a lot more complex of an issue to stop. And it's also the thing that is creating energy is not like creating energy for people in third world countries to be able to survive like it is in our world. Electricity and energy is being created for all types of reasons, both good and bad. In this world, they created a MacGuffin or like a whatever, this device that is pure evil in its execution because it is drawing and destroying the environment, but it's also only supporting the evil palace ship.
Yeah.
Like, that almost seems ridiculous on the face of it. Like, we created a device so powerful, so needing of power, that it's sucking power from the entirety of the multiverse. That's kind of ridiculous. Just the potential energy created by the mycelium network. And they did say it destroys planets, but to me, like, it seems like the mycelium network is so powerful. I mean, literally jumping multiverses, jumping.
It feels like they're attacking the nervous system of the fabric of reality.
Yeah, it does for sure. But anyway, it's like it's easy to with allegory. It's easy to oversimplify things to where like you're not looking at the issue from all sides, and that's what this show has done. And I don't love that it does that.
Yeah, I don't either. By the way, I don't necessarily buy that Lorca would believe that Burnham has betrayed the Emperor. Like, he seems just too smart to be like, yeah, I knew you would be my friend.
Well, I don't agree.
I know he's obsessed with her, but
she is smart enough to not go, Lorca, you convinced me and I love you. Burnham plays it well. She goes in there and says,
she does.
I've brought you the Emperor because it will save my people. Mm-hmm. Like, it's going to... I'm sacrificing this person that is not my Giorgio, and I'm using my logic side to accept that, and so that I can save the hundreds of people on my ship. And I buy him believing that. I wouldn't buy it if she walked in and was like, Lorca, you're right, I've always loved you, and kissed him. Like, that'd be too far.
Yeah, I know. I just feel like he may have. I feel like Lorca would have even sensed that deception. I
don't know. I don't, especially because she included things like, just to be clear, I'm only giving you my mind. Like, right. She's laying the perfect trap because it's not a honeypot. Basically, it's not like too good to be true. It's just the amount of like logic that he would believe Burnham would go for. Mm-hmm. And it's not even what he asked for. He asked for her to join him, and instead she made a trade that will save the lives of her people. Like, right. So I don't know. I buy it. I totally buy it.
I love Lorca's speech, by the way, when he addresses the Discovery crew one final time.
Me too. I love it so much.
I didn't write it down because it was kind of lengthy.
It was very lengthy. It's just a wonderful speech about how he is you can see the uncomfortableness on their faces when he talks about how he has sculpted them into the perfect soldiers.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh, he has. They have this like look on their face like, we've been tainted by the mirror universe. Yep. We are like products of this dark dimension. Oh man, loved it. I loved it so much.
I love that he like, it feels like he's a little, getting a little choked up or something, like he's getting a little sympathetic.
Oh, for sure. He actually cares for these people. He's not just a mustache twirler. He's actually got some. He spent 2 years almost in the mirror universe with these people, and he like really was trying to win the war too. That's what always interested me about Lorca. Even though he knows this is not his universe, he still wants the Federation to win that war. Mm-hmm.
Even though he thinks the Federation's a cult, apparently.
Yes. Yeah, but it's still the closest thing he has to his empire in his universe, Yeah.
I do like that Michael has Giorgio's badge and the Emperor has her Burnham's badge.
Yeah, that was really nice.
That was a nice touch.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
So I know this is one of those instances where I loved the action. I loved the action throughout the entire episode. Like,
I liked
it was just
most
great.
of it. I liked most of it. There was one part that really bothered me, and that was okay, maybe I missed it, but did Burnham blast a hole in that grate that she could slide through? Because I didn't see her blast that. It looked like a stray bullet had blasted a hole in a grate that was just convenient for her to slide away.
You know, I don't even think I noticed that.
Oh yeah, that part kind of annoyed me because it was like she's being closed in on in the throne room, and then she looks over and there's just a hole in the wall that she could slide into, a Jeffrey's tube like situation.
I love that, like, all of the Terran weapons are just like, they only have like a horrendous death explosion setting, like.
Yeah, which made me wonder why, when I think it's Landry goes down to get Burnham, she has her weapon drawn. I was like, do they have a stun setting? I had that question. I was like, I have not seen them stun anyone, but is she going to try to stun Burnham? Yeah,
I mean, by the way, speaking of Landry, I like that Landry doesn't seem at all more evil than the Prime Universe Landry.
Me too. She's just a servant of Lorca in all timelines. Doesn't matter how dark he gets.
That is awful.
I liked it.
Well, you get some agency, lady.
Oh man, there's plenty of agency on this show, and there are people like that serve others, and it's not like this show is being sexist by not having her have agency.
It was just more of a joking.
I hear you.
Conversation to that character. Like, we used to joke around about me and Jason used to joke around on Arrow about Thea. We're just like, oh yeah, every decision she makes is for a man. Yeah,
but the thing, like, and I feel like a lot of shows get flack for that because it's a sexist show. And that may even be the case with Arrow. I haven't really analyzed the Arrow's amount of agency they give women. But there are people in this world like that. And it goes men and women. And it's probably, especially in our patriarchal society, it is more of a problem that women tend to latch onto a man and let that man lead them and let that man be their entire existence. Not that men can't and don't do the same thing, but it is more common the other way around. I think.
I'm not sure that's true.
Maybe not. And I don't mean that is a state women should be in or are naturally in. I think it's just a result of our society.
Personally, for me, rather than make sweeping generalizations about any, sex or gender, I would rather say there's a real problem with codependency in this country.
Yeah,
I just leave it at that.
I agree, but I think leaving it at that is ignoring a lot of the cultural issues that we have. So
I don't need cultural issues. All people suck.
Oh, talk about sweeping generalizations. You're right, Dave. Let's stay away from sweeping generalizations. All people suck.
It's the only thing we can say for sure.
Great point, Dave. All right, back to Star Trek.
It's the only thing we can say for sure.
Okay. You want to get into our quotes?
Sure. I don't have much.
I have a couple. Most of it Lorca, I think.
I have one for Saru, where it is well known that my species has the ability to sense the coming of death. I do not sense it today. I may not have all the answers, however, I do know I'm surrounded by a team I trust, the finest a captain could ever hope to command. Discovery is no longer Lorca's. She is ours, and today will be her maiden voyage. Yeah, that was probably my favorite quote from the episode, but it was too long, and I couldn't type it in time. But I'm glad you did. Yeah.
I was using my phone, and I couldn't swipe keyboard that fast. That's a great line, and it really, it made me feel for the inhabitants of Discovery. It made me really rally around their federation-ness. So I have one that was Lorca. He describes how he made it to the Mirror Universe in the first place, or the Prime timeline in the first place. And then he says, "To me it was physics, acting as the hand of destiny." I like that line a lot.
Yeah, that was good. I've got a great Lorca. I was just thinking about everyone who's ever said that victory felt empty when it was attained. What a bunch of idiots they were.
Yeah, I like that. I like that one a lot. He also asked Stamets, "You believe in destiny now?" And he says, "That's rhetorical." Because he's being Stamets. And then he says, "Your lack of vision continues to disappoint me."
Yeah, that was fun.
Loved that. And in that this is really the same quote almost. It's a couple lines later. He has him stand above the power generator, and he says, a scientist killed by his own creation. It's poetic, don't you think? And he says, "Just kidding. I hate poetry." And he has Landry just shoot him.
Yep. That was fantastic.
So good.
While providing the Chekhov's gun.
Yes. That was a beautiful way of providing the Chekhov's gun. Like, we need to see someone fall into that. But also, if they do end up doing something with him down the road, having traveled the mycelium network, Mirror Stamets won't be there, and that disappoints me.
Yeah, that's sad.
I would love to see Mirror Stamets. I love an evil Stamets because he's not that much different than real Stamets. Just has different ideals, Like, I like that their personalities were intact on this side. Like, they're still the people they are. They just have completely different ideals of what the universe should look like.
Yeah, that's all my quotes.
Yeah, mine too. Well, how about some trivia, Dave?
All right, so this is all from Memory Alpha. What's passed as prologue is a phrase from Act 2, Scene 1 of William Shakespeare's The Tempest.
Nice. Cool.
Let's see. This episode marks the first time a commanding officer has been written out of their series of origin.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
And what I've already mentioned before, it's revealed that the mirror Gabriel Lorca arrived in the Prime Universe via a transporter accident, the same way Kirk, McCoy, Scott, and Uhura did in 2267.
Yeah, that's rad. That's cool, man. I like it. So this episode was great. Do you want to move on to a very short spoiler section?
Sure.
Guys, check us out at StarTrekUcast.com or any of those Star Trek Ucast on pretty much all the services. So check us out, please. Like us, share us on Facebook, all those things. Go, whatever app you're using, give us a good review. But let's talk very, very short, because you didn't even want to do one, and I'm just throwing out this one thing I wanted to point out. All right. Spoiler section now. Talk about these last two episodes that we haven't seen yet.
Okay.
I don't remember much from these last two episodes. There's two, right? We have two left?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so. But then I from my memory, I thought that this episode ended, and then there was only one episode left to wrap it all up. But I guess there's two. Because I was actually watching this, and I was like, oh, wait, is this the one where the season ends? Or the Mirror Universe plot ends? I thought we had one more.
It is the one where the Mirror Universe plot ends.
Yeah, I know. But I was watching it thinking that we had one more till that. Like, I thought we had the only one episode outside of the Mirror Universe. But,
which is, I think, problematic of the show. Like, I feel like this episode felt a little rushed. It was a little rushed. Lorca getting kiboshed and everything at the everything happening in this episode was just a little much.
I kind of think this whole season would have been better had it just ended on this episode. That's the way I remember it. Like, I just thought the whole Klingon plot line to me upon the first watch felt so long ago, and it felt so much like not what we were doing anymore, that going back to it now feels, just spending two episodes to wrap it up. That's what hurt. That's what felt weird to me, is wrapping this whole season up in the last two episodes. Like, they just got back. They have the entire Klingon war has been won. Like, the Klingons have won the war. Like, what? and how are they going to wrap that up in two episodes? That's a lot. It's a lot to wrap up. And how much of the Federation has been destroyed, I guess? Or is it just running? Or is Federation just running to their corner of the world, the universe? I don't know. That whole thing was weird. But what has me encouraged is I think the first time I watched this, it had been so long since we had watched any Prime Universe stuff, any Discovery Universe, if you want to say that. It just felt so disconnected from what was going on. My hope is, upon this rewatch that we're about to embark on of these last 2 episodes, I'll just have a better memory and a more of a connection to what happened at the beginning of the season, since we've watched it in such short amount of time. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually going to care a little more about this Klingon War stuff. That's what I'm hoping. But honestly, even looking over at the Klingon War side, we've killed all the villains at this point. They killed that whatever their name was, the Wolf
Ship of the Dead.
The Ship of the Dead. They destroyed the Ship of the Dead, and then they left. It kind of feels like,
but that left a power vacuum.
I absolutely. And
all the factions are kind of going at it.
But none of those factions am I personally connected with.
Yeah.
And so I just don't know I don't know what to think. I don't know what to hope for in a final battle with the Klingons. And I remember what we get, and that's a peace treaty brought around by L'Rell. But I just don't remember caring enough when we got back over there.
I think that was a problem for a lot of people. I think it was less about the Klingon War and more about what it's done to the Federation. But even that seemed a little lackluster. But they needed to wrap up L'Rell, and they needed to wrap up Vogue.
Yes.
Or Ash Tyler.
I kind of wish they just kept that for season 2. But I'm also glad that
I think they sort of did, based on the trailers I've seen.
Yeah, we're definitely getting more Ash and more L'Rell this season, which is cool. I like them as characters, but I just found myself just not caring. I almost wish they'd just somehow join the Discovery, in a mirror universe romp, and this whole show, if they'd actually been stuck in the mirror universe at the end of that season, we're just here now. We're dealing with the Terran Empire, we are, that could have been interesting, and kind of like with the Maquis and the Federation having to join forces, but having L'Rell just have to join in with them to join the rebels on that other side and have to deal with this Klingon Empire that's completely been decimated. That all sounds more interesting to me than going back and wrapping this up. But that's what they do. I'm hoping that it will resonate better this time, is all I'm really getting at.
Sure.
All right, guys. That's all for us. Peace.
Live long and prosper.
To reach out to us, hit us up at StarTrekUcast.com, at Star Trek UCast on Twitter, Star Trek Universe Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Just search for us there, or send us a message at StarTrekUcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv. And if you want to hear more from Matthew Carroll, that's me, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, or go listen to my music at MatthewCarrollmusic.com or anywhere you get music.